Hi, everybody. It's fall, and we're getting later and later into the season, and we wanted to talk about planting trees and shrubs now because it is an awesome time to plant, especially when we have lovely sunny days and we can get out there and we can dig and do all the things that we want to do before the snow starts flying. Listen, it's not going to happen just yet. And so we've got plenty of time to do things out in the garden that we enjoy. So fall, and I've told you all of this before, fall is a great time to plant, especially because the soil temperature is nice and warm still. Many of us in Northeast Ohio haven't had a freeze yet. Or I should say a frost, not even a freeze, a frost yet this fall season. So that's amazing. We've had a really long, beautiful summer and fall season. And so planting is great. The soil is still warm and roots establish very quickly in warm soil. So that's something that's really, really great. The other thing is when we get that cooling period at night where it cools maybe 20 to 30 degrees at night, that's great. Makes the plants just kind of rest and relax. They aren't stressed. They go ahead and they put their energy as they're slowly going dormant into their root development. So that's even better. And look at the color that you can add to your garden as well. So everything is changing and looking gorgeous as those pigments kind of rise to the surface with a lot of the plant material. So you're gonna have that beautiful fall color added to your landscape. And the other thing is we get a little bit more rain in the fall, usually. Don't keep me to my word on that one, but typically we do get a little bit more moisture, so you don't have to water as much and put out, that irrigation maintenance. However, we do want you to continue to water newly planted trees and shrubs, 1 inch of water 1 time per week, slow and deep watering, especially right after you have finished planting that plant. So do keep that in mind. We've got hydrangea trees. Hydrangea trees, of course, are panicle types of hydrangeas. You've got some that will change color sooner, some that will change color a little bit later. Right here, I have Quickfire. Quickfire is a really well-known variety of panicle hydrangea, and the whole Quickfire family, whether it's Quickfire Fab or Little Quickfire or what have you, they all tend to change colors and bloom a little bit faster than some of the other panicle hydrangeas. So you will find that blooming, that color change comes quicker for them. And so this is Quickfire right here on the tree. Quickfire is a 6 to 8 foot tall shrub, panicle shrub hydrangea. Here on the tree, of course, you're going to add 6 to 8 foot on top of your already probably 4 foot trunk here, okay? So again, we're talking 10 foot or more with this tree. And look at the flowers are starting to just fade. Actually, this is a newer one. Look at how white that is. And of course, looking inside the flower panicle, it does have some redder petioles, if you will. But this is a lace cap variety, which I really enjoy with the panicles because you have your true flowers on the inside that the pollinators appreciate, and you have your sterile flowers, bigger flowers on the outside, okay? So lots of variation there. This is a drier panicle, of course, and you can tell it has kind of deepened in color. It's like a dusky pink, beautiful dried flowers on the inside now. So those true flowers have kind of dried. They almost look like a berry here, and then you see the sterile flowers on the outside. Definitely more color through this stem, if you will. And of course, the foliage is changing a beautiful shade of kind of a burnt orange, almost a reddish, really, really pretty. Behind it actually is a green leaf variety. This is Phantom. And Phantom is, we only grow it as a hydrangea tree. The reason being is Phantom's panicles get enormous. They're really, really gorgeous. And it looks lovely as a tree. And as it starts to bloom, it kind of will weep over a little bit. It is a little bit of a later bloomer, but I have a feeling Phantom was cut back. Quite often we do that with our panicle hydrangeas through the growing season to keep them a little bit more compact and, of course, to get more breaks on the branches, meaning more areas where we will see flowering happen. So Phantom's a nice one. It just hasn't turned colors yet. You're going to see more of the yellows and golds in Phantom foliage, maybe a little bit of orange, a touch of like the bronzy brown in Phantom, but very nice. And Phantom is going to, again, be that 10 to 12 foot or more as far as the Panicle hydrangea tree. Down below, I have Little Lime. And again, Little Lime, some of these are new buds on this plant. And again, we have at Petitti's, we tend to trim and continue to trim stock so it keeps on re-breaking, again, in a good way, and producing more areas where it's going to produce flowering growth for us. So Little Lime is just starting to really open up and bud and really start to produce those colors. There's a few flowers on this plant that are a little bit older, and they are starting to take on that color change. So we're starting to just get a blush pink on some of the older flowers. Really, really beautiful. Again, this plant goes through a lot of color changes. And if you want a smaller Panicle shrub, this one's like 3 to 5 foot when it's full grown, but Little Lime is a good one to have. And then pair this with something like a Japanese maple. The Japanese maples do go through some color changes. Some varieties go through a wider or bigger color change than others. Trompenberg down below is a nice kind of bushy form, really beautiful foliage here, and a nice bright red orange. Up above, this is Emperor 1. Emperor 1 is a fairly popular variety, a little bit thicker foliage texture on this one. It will be a burgundy through the growing season, and then it'll kind of fade very, very slowly, and you'll start to get some of the reds and the oranges on this one as well. So do look at your Japanese maples. There's lots of different varieties. Viridis is a lace leaf variety that is green through the growing season, but boy, its fall color is gorgeous. I'll have Taylor show you that one. So there's quite a few that really go through some major color changes, and they look absolutely gorgeous. So do check out your Japanese maples as well. So Taylor was asking about, can you still plant when a tree or shrub's losing its leaves? Absolutely. It's an indication that they are slowly but surely going into dormancy. Younger trees like this weeping redbud are a little less likely to hold on to their leaves as long. They're still working on putting energy into the root system. So absolutely, you can still plant them when they are losing their leaves, or if they've lost their leaves, no problem. Again, it's really, we want the heat, again, of the soil, the warmer soil, to start help establishing those root systems, okay? So that's what's really going to help us with planting in the fall. Then we wanted to mention, do we still have time to plant bulbs? Absolutely, folks. Bulb planting can go until the soil has frozen solid. Yeah, there we go. Let's get those verb tenses right. Oh gosh. So needless to say, when we're talking about planting trees and shrubs, you really can dig that hole, make sure that it's prepared, go ahead and plant that plant until we get a really good hard freeze, okay? With bulbs, it's the same thing. Again, warm soil in the fall is going to be a great time to do that. And don't get me wrong, spring blooming bulbs aren't instant gratification, but boy, they are so easy, and they typically do their thing for you, okay? 99% of the time, you can dig a hole, drop them in, cover them over. I know I've mentioned that before, and they're gonna do their thing. It's always great to prepare that hole, make sure that it is well drained, because bulbs do not like to be planted in wet soil. Make sure it's a sunny area as well. And then go ahead and honestly, with your bulbs, go ahead and you plant them 3 times the depth of the length of the bulb, or the height of the bulb, okay? So I have a blend of tulips here. This is Tulip Royal Prince blend here. Beautiful purples and lavenders and yellows. Really, really nice. Your true height, this is kind of a shorter tulip, if you will, 12 to 14 inches tall. And we always talk about taking the tulips and planting them deeper than normal, because that helps insulate them a little bit better. It helps them return a little bit better. So the height of this tulip is probably about 2 inches times 3, 6 inches. Good, I can do my math in the morning. And then I would like to see these planted 8 to 10 inches deep in the soil, just so you give them a little bit more insulation, and they tend to return, maybe instead of 1 year, return 2 years, 3 years. Now, with tulips, again, they are our herbivores' favorite type of plant, right? So do make sure if you have digging around the bulbs, you've noticed, squirrels and chipmunks and all those types of things. You can put a granular repellent in the hole, like Repel-Zol, for example, when you're planting. You could also use something like a chicken wire and go ahead and kind of place a box top of chicken wire over the top of the bulbs after you're done planting, fill in the soil and everything else, and they will be protected and will not move around. As the bulbs do bloom in spring, we will remind you, but of course, you need to protect your tulips for sure. So you want to make sure you get the granular repellent around as they're just emerging from the soil. And then, of course, as they get taller, they usually need a liquid repellent, something like Plant Skid, Repel-Zol, what have you, to go ahead and protect them. Bulbs, great, beautiful, wonderful cut flower. Don't get me wrong. Just, again, you've got to protect these guys. There are some other bulbs that do very, very well, and I'm going to show you. All of these are deer resistant. I think I've got all deer resistant. Crocus, not so much, but Dutch iris, beautiful spring blooming iris. You'll be so surprised at how beautiful these are. They do come up late spring, early summer. I have this checkered lily. It's in the fritillaria family, so they're a little bit stinky. So really the rodents leave these guys alone. And these are really, really tiny. If I turn them around, they're no more than, look at, maybe a 1/4 inch deep. So they can go maybe 1 inch to 2 inches deep in the soil. Not a lot of digging is required for these guys. The Dutch iris, look at that. So that bulb is about 2 inches long. So that will do very nicely in about 6 inches depth of soil. Again, very deer resistant, beautiful. Combine your Dutch iris with the hyacinths. French hyacinths do very well, are very perfumey for us. Really, really wonderful as far as deer resistance. So look at all those colors, and you can get them individual or mixes. They really are a great plant for us. And then you can't go wrong with your daffodils. So the daffodils are always great. This is a double blend, very, very showy flowers, and you can see their trumpet or corolla is doubled here. So all different colors with this blend, but very nice, and again, very, very deer resistant. And you're probably talking maybe 1.5 feet as far as height is concerned. So don't be afraid to cut your daffodils, use them in arrangements in the spring. They're always great. And then I've got 2 little ones here. The Greek windflower, I wanted to show you. This is deer resistant. These guys are no more than about 4 inches tall. So they're really tiny when they pop up in the garden, but they're really pretty planted at the base of the daffodils or the hyacinths. They come out, and it's just a beautiful spring plant to have sort of mid-spring. These are your crocus. There's lots of different types of crocus, large and small. This snow mix is really nice, more of a small species type, but they are the harbingers of spring. So if you want some color when there's snow on the ground, guess what? Get your crocus planted and they'll pop out for you and they'll look wonderful, usually around February. Okay, plenty of time for planting bulbs. At this time of year, you can still plant evergreens too. And I love all of the different colors. Again, they're gonna give us color all through the winter time. Of course, fall, winter, year round, you're going to get color. And so it's nice to have evergreens in pots and out in the landscape to give yourself that color, that interest, that texture through our winter months, and again, year round as well. These plants can be planted in the ground, of course, no problem. Plenty of time to do that. But also in pots if you want to have some colorful evergreens by the front of the house or garage or what have you. And so they'll work, and it just depends on what color, what texture that you like out there. Just remember that your pots need to be like a good frost-proof pot. Make sure that the drainage holes stay open, so we don't want any freezing and thawing and cracking of your pots, okay? And so normally we'll suggest prop them up on pot toes or pot feet, prop them up on bricks or maybe pieces of wood underneath, so you know that your drainage holes will stay open as the weather warms, and then of course water can still flow through that pot. Okay, so do keep that in mind. I've got a false cypress here. This is vintage gold, really shaggy, beautiful, lacy foliage, very, very nice, very slow growing. Evergreen here, beautiful, obviously yellow color. Right beyond it is an arborvitae called Anna's Magic Ball. It is nice and tight and compact, really, really beautiful. That one's very popular. Just again, you get those nice little round golden balls, and they can be dressed up. You can put different boughs and branches around the ball if you want to for the winter, and it looks really nice. This one, look at that. This is an arborvitae. It's called filiformis, and you can tell it has these very, very fine, I should say smaller branches of needles. It's very fun and shaggy, and it has a very, very fine texture to it. That's also very fun, and of course would provide some really cool texture out in the landscape or in a pot. This colorful one right behind is actually called Fire Chief. And Fire Chief goes through quite a bit, and it's an arborvitae, small rounded arborvitae, and it goes through a lot of different color changes. You've got the limey green color underneath, sort of a yellow, and then in the fall, you kind of get this burnt orange, sort of purpley orange. It's a really neat plant, but during the summer, you get those really pretty orange, peachy highlights on it. It really is a lovely plant. And its relative Rheingold arborvitae is right down the way. So we'll show you that one as well. Just slight color changes with those plants. This one is Golden Globe. Golden Globe is an arborvitae, and you can kind of tell it has that arborvitae classic smell to it. Golden Globe is going to get a little bit larger. So this one is not going to stay as nice and compact as some of the other varieties like Anna's Magic Ball, but still, if you need something a little bit larger in the landscape, rounded and globe shaped, this one will foot the bill. And again, you have that beautiful golden to green color with that one. So Rheingold arborvitae is here, just a little bit lighter color than Fire Chief, but still very nice, very compact. And there's just so many to look at, guys. So do come out, check out the junipers, the small like bird's nest spruce, the Migo pines, the, oh my gosh, Hinoki cypress. Hinoki cypress are gorgeous. There are so many different kinds of evergreens out there, especially small evergreens that you can kind of put in different spaces in the landscape to get that year-round color and texture, or put in containers to have something out there over the winter months. Let's look for great foliage color now. And what I often recommend is I recommend Itea as an alternate for burning bush, because burning bush can get very large and just very hard to maintain sometimes. So the Itea or Sweet Spire is really nice native plant material. Down here, you will see names like Little Henry, Henry's Garnet, Scentlandia is through this area. I also have a variety called Merlot that really does have a beautiful wine-colored foliage. And I'm going to tell you, the Sweet Spires, depending on variety, Little Henry is going to stay a little bit smaller and compact, maybe up to 3 foot tall and wide. Henry's Garnet might get a little bit larger, up to, let's say, that 5 foot mark. But again, they are mid-season bloomers. They bloom a white kind of spike-type flower, very scented, wonderful, and then they will produce this fall color that you just cannot beat out in the landscape. We're over by the red twig dogwoods. This is Cornus. There's lots of different varieties here. So I'm just going to go through names, but boy, these are plants that you're going to get that beautiful coloration on their stems over winter. So I wanted to show you that, but sometimes their fall foliage really turns some beautiful colors as well. And they're normally green leaf during the growing season, and their stems are covered, so you don't really see the stems. It's when you move into that fall and winter time that you really get to enjoy these. This first one right here, this yellow one, is actually called Neon Burst. And Taylor's like, oh, look at the black edges. But again, they've gotten cold. So that yellow foliage that they normally have during the growing season will start to die back, will drop. But underneath, of course, you have those bright red stems. So do look for Neon Burst, especially if you're looking for that bright yellow coloration during the growing season. I do have Arctic Fire here. This is a PW variety. Arctic Fire does have the red stems, classic red stems. The green foliage has turned a nice burgundy red. So do look for that too. We love to cut these stems and of course use them for holiday arrangements. And then look at this one. This is Silky Dogwood. This is actually an Ohio native, really, really beautiful Cornus ammonum, and really beautiful. The color changes through the green foliage are really nice. Everything from your reds to burgundies. And then of course, look underneath and we've already got those beautiful red stems. So great plants to grow, very easy to grow, sunny, part shade areas. They tolerate moist clay soil. So something to really look forward to. We're over by the ginkgos, and I just wanted to show you all. Ginkgos are so fun. They're just a cool plant. But I wanted to show you some of the varieties and the color they turn for fall. And ginkgos are really just an example of one of the most beautiful golden shades of fall. They're beautiful leaves here. So we have butterflies here as a short variety. American, we've got Troll. Again, we have the taller varieties too, like Princeton Century. So there are a lot of ginkgos to be had, just depending on what size you want. But really awesome fall color. And again, a piece of history if you plant them in your yard. I'm out in the nursery and look what I found. This is really cool. This is a native plant of Ohio. This is a sumac, okay? But it's really fun. It's called a shining sumac, and you can tell how pretty and glossy these leaves are. Your sumacs are always going to do a really, really good job of giving you some fall coloration as well. So the red color all the way down. The shining sumac is really a beautiful plant. It can get large, let's say 10 to 15 feet, and sumacs do have that natural habit of kind of producing that suckering growth, and that clump will get a little bit larger every year as it produces more of its suckers and branches as it comes out. But again, it can be pruned and kept in an area the size that you really want it. So do look for this one. The variety on this one's called Creel's Quintet, just so you're aware. But beautiful foliage, really, really gorgeous. And again, folks, this is not your poison sumac. This is your native sumac variety, one of the many that we grow. Sometimes you'll find grow low sumac or what else? The staghorn varieties of sumac. So do look for those as well. And then right behind me, look at this bronzy orange right here. This is an amelanchier or serviceberry. This is your apple serviceberry. So it's known as grandiflora. And grandiflora serviceberry or amelanchier are a cross between a downy serviceberry and an Allegheny serviceberry. So you take two natives, you put them together, you get this really beautiful tree. And again, your amelanchier have interesting bark for the winter months. They have spring blooming. They have they produce berries for the birds, and of course you can eat them too, June berries. Fall foliage, beautiful colors. So do look for your amelanchiers too. Those are a nice native of Ohio. And don't forget your other trees. So if you want to add a little bit more shade to the garden, a little bit more interest, you can see right over my shoulder here, the maples, the oaks, all of those will do very, very well now planted. And like I said, if you're looking for something a little bit taller to cast some shade in the garden, or maybe even to just, shade the house a little bit so you can save a little bit on those energy bills, especially in the summer. That's always a good idea too. So something to think about now. Fall is for planting, and you can plant your trees, your shrubs, your bulbs, and still have a beautiful garden to come in the spring. Enjoy.